I'm missing. Okay, that's okay.
It's all right. Just want to make sure that
We're good?
these guys
You're good.
are on.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the Tuesday, January 6th, 2026 Audit Facilities and Operations Committee meeting. We will begin with public comment. Okay. Seeing no public comment, we will move on to our first agenda item, which is the school bus leasing versus purchase program and costs associated with repairs.
In front of you should be a paper looks like this.
Okay.
And I know some of you have seen that chart, the first page before.
Mm-hmm.
So the first chart is a purchase replacement, because I know you asked about what the cost would be to actually purchase.
Okay.
And that kind of breaks it down as far as the cost of a big bus, small bus, and Suburbans are. And then that second chart is what we're currently kind of doing now. I've modified the start of it and tried to predict the future of it. But as you see on the yellow lines is where your voter proposals would be as far as cost wise, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just put in that bottom chart. Those are the combined lease payments over the years as they roll.
The second yellow line,
The bottom.
this one.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the 5-year cost rolled in on the lease payments
Mhm.
as the years progress. The second page, or the second document I have is just a list of all the buses.
Okay.
And there's 14 SUVs, 45 small buses, 25 big buses that we own, and 34 big buses that are leased. And that's including the ones that we just received on the lease side. The ones highlighted in green are actually going to be slated to be auctioned off in the spring here. These buses are being replaced by the newer buses coming in over the next couple of days here.
Those are the oldest ones in the fleet.
They may not, for the most part, yes.
Mhm.
And then there's ones that just have repair issues that it just wouldn't be beneficial to the district to keep at this time. The one highlighted in red is currently off the road, doesn't pass inspection. And then there's one on the back side of that page highlighted in red that just currently bus 402 that the engine, seven-blown engine. So we have to debate on what we're gonna do with that. It's $20,000 to fix the motor.
Mhm.
So we're weighing our options on that one. And the last few pages is just a breakdown. So when I first started here, there was really no account for like the garage was doing as far as repairs, or they weren't really documenting it that well.
Okay.
And ever since I make them put their actual hours and what they put on the bus and what work they're doing into a spreadsheet. Chris does that every day. So he breaks it down. I have a main spreadsheet that actually breaks down the part numbers that they put on the buses and the hours and the cost and everything goes into it. And then I take that and I, produce the graphs that are in front of you there. On the first part of that graph, we'll give you the breakdown and money-wise as cost, labor costs, and total cost for those years.
So in our parts cost graph, we're down from a height of spending on parts just shy of $243,000. We're down to $78,462.
That's
year to date.
That's
Year to date,
Okay.
so that's July
previous.
1st to now.
Mhm.
Yep.
So the last full year, it would be from 242,998 down to 137,515.
Yeah, and remember last year we didn't buy any vehicles.
Mhm.
So I'm predicting that graph will is kind of level there
Okay.
until we, new vehicles. And you can see it in the labor cost too,
Mhm.
where it kind of leveled out there. I mean, it's a little lower, but, it was trending down and then it kind of stopped there.
So how do we explain for this decline in cost of parts as well as labor? Would that be attributed to the leasing?
Yeah, to the newer buses and the leasing, the leased buses are under warranty as long as you have them. So if they do put parts on them, the dealer's either giving them the part or, replacing the part. So the district's not paying for that, and obviously they're paying for oil and filters,
Yeah.
just the general maintenance. It would be tires and brakes they won't cover, but everything else they cover. They're been even covering like lights, because they're LED lights and the manufacturers have warranties on them. So they've been warranting that too, so.
So I want to ask a question. I think Trustee Curzio was most interested in what happens when we resumed our leasing and purchase program to the cost of parts and labor. And it would appear that by new buses coming in, it's costing us less to maintain the vehicles we have. I think that was your major interest.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep. Just before we get to that, I'm not following completely the pie graph. So this is total cost, but this is just an overall, the pie represents
Yeah,
the
that's
total
it.
cost of 5+ years and then, okay,
Yeah,
it doesn't.
got it, okay,
it's basically just the bar graph and a pie.
got it.
Who doesn't like a pie?
As the vehicles get older, when we have some of them from 2005, 2006, is it more difficult to get parts for those vehicles as time goes by?
We've been running into our Chevy vans, the older ones. We actually can't get parts for them. Over the past year, we've actually bought parts off of eBay because there's no parts available anywhere. For instance, it was a computer part that just GM doesn't make anymore, and there was no aftermarket for it. So that is happening, and GM's really good about the older vehicles to discontinue parts at times, and you just hope the aftermarket parts places have them, but that's hard to find sometimes.
It looks like after the spring, when these older vehicles are auctioned, 3 Chevy vans left in service. Is that right? Assuming that the Chevys with capacity 6 are vans, or is it?
No, so the Chevy van, I say van, they're small buses, they're the 20 and 30 passenger buses.
Okay,
They're on a Chevy Express chassis.
got it. So they're more, and all of those are subject to parts issues or only the older ones?
The older ones.
What's our current breakdown of number of buses that we own versus the number of buses that we lease?
So we currently have 34 leased buses.
Okay,
And then out of the big buses, there's 25 that we own, 34 that are leased. So
Okay.
that's what, 59. So 34 of the 59 of the big buses.
And can you explain, as far as what goes into making the budget and long-term budgeting practices, as far as the lease program and the cycle that puts the district on versus
Sure.
the year-to-year purchase that the district did previously?
So there was nothing last year.
Mhm.
That was not in the budget. So this year, we've resumed that. We bought, we leased 6 big buses and we bought 7 small buses, right? And contemplating for next year, we're talking about the same 6.
Mhm.
Remember, at this moment, we have a deadline of 2027 for the purchase or acquisition of gasoline or diesel buses. We are expecting to get a 2-year extension on that, which will get us to 2029. So originally, I had 12 small buses in next year's budget. I've now trimmed that down to 10. We may have to cut that further depending upon where the totality of the budget leaves us. But each small bus purchase is $100,000.
Mhm.
20 passengers are 95, 30 passengers are 105 or something, but it comes out to about 100. So I had $1.2 million for the purchase of 12 small buses. That's now down to $1 million. And that may have to go down further. We may only be able to purchase 8 of them if we need to save some money in terms of the size of the budget. But the plan would be to identify those that need to go the most. And so if we could get rid of another 6, perhaps we won't have anything before 2015 or 2016 on our fleet. We do know that the big buses have a lifespan of about 10 years. The smaller buses are a little better than that, but we do know, Trustee Curzio, that if we pave that parking lot, which has never been paved, which is just item 4, that those buses will last longer, just simply by paving the place where the buses are kept.
Mhm.
And so that's for another day, but that's pretty important as well to be thinking about.
Excellent. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Members of the public on this?
Yes, I do. I just don't know how to approach the question. I'd like to know if the district plans on not, if we're gonna be leasing buses again, we're already on a 5-year plan for our current leases, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're gonna start leasing again. Are we no longer gonna own any big buses in the district?
Well, we have so many of them that will take some time before they become leased buses. The problem with purchasing is that we're supposed to be electrifying all the buses.
I know that.
And so we are unable to do that. The estimate, Superintendent and I are meeting with the people that did a study for us. The estimate is $41 million to electrify our fleet. And so we know that that's not going to happen. And so, but we don't want to buy and be stuck with buses when we have to get electric buses at some point, or may have to. So that's the purpose of leasing now. Plus, it enables us, right now, we're paying $188,000 a year for 6 new buses, rather than $1 million something to purchase them. And yes, it could be more expensive over time, but now we have a newer fleet, reduction in cost of labor and parts to take care of those vehicles. So it makes sense right now until we know what's going to be happening with the state.
Of the $100,000 to purchase a large bus,
Small bus,
okay, what is it to purchase a large bus?
about 200, was it
It's
200,000?
just under 200,000.
Just under 200.
Of that 200,000, how much does the state and federal government reimburse the district for that?
We get transportation aid if you purchase it, you get the aid right away, but if you lease it, the aid is over time. We get about 60% of the cost of the lease back each year. So it's $188,000 is what we're paying, we get about 60% of that back
Oh,
each
at
year.
least you get 60%?
Yes,
How much do you get on purchasing?
regardless, if it's legitimate, if it's approved transportation expenses, you get the same percentage back from the state. Okay, sure.
Thank you. And Mr. Silver, we have seen a considerable, as the graph showed, reduction in the parts and labor, and that's just what the program promised when it was put before the board originally. So, Mike, would you say that you were satisfied with that result to date as far as the reduction in expenses in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, I think it went into the direction that I was projecting it to go in.
Mhm.
And I think if we did, last year and continued the numbers this year, seen the numbers would have went down to where I was predicting them to be originally back, 3-4 years ago, we did that.
Excellent.
And we first started leasing, I think, 2 to 3 years ago. We haven't leased earlier than that.
22 was.
22.
But there was nothing last year.
But there-
24, 25 year, there was nothing done.
So my question is, have we come to the end of a lease contract yet?
No.
Seeing what the re-up looks like and what the process looks like?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that's in 27.
But with the interest rates going down, we anticipate that that would be beneficial to us. going
Right,
forward.
our expectation right now is it would be down, but it's something that potentially is a moving target each time we have to react.
Yes, of course.
Thank you for the information on that, much appreciated. Okay, second item of business, safety and security, Alteris, which was postponed from our last committee meeting.
So the superintendent's gonna speak on this with me. I'll start off. We currently have Altaris as a consulting-only agreement in the area of the low $20,000 per year. Safety and security has taken on a life of its own. And we had a tabletop exercise today with people from Altaris. And it raised more questions than it answered in terms of what do you do if? What do you do if? Where do you bring the kids? How do you manage this? And so we have determined that with this life of its own, that we need to have boots on the ground from Altaris. And so we are proposing that for an additional $79,000 a year, which is on the first page of what you have there, they would have a person here 3 days a week. That person would go to every school every week. That person would be doing the building level and district level plans on a yearly basis. That person would be working on making sure the grounds are secure, that interlopers, or whatever you want to call them, could not get in as easily as they might otherwise be able to. Recommending areas to harden our defenses should something come our way. And we believe that that is really well worthwhile. We are bringing this to you today because we want to get this approved next week and get it started. So this would be the price for all of next year, and this would be prorated, let's say, February 1st. Ms. Plotkin, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I think we would be doing this in line with our peer districts that have people 5 days a week who just specialize in this. One of the things that I think we would realize if we go through the district safety plan, which you folks just reapproved, is there are annexes which detail all the different emergencies that could possibly go on in a school district. They're very complicated. Having someone who can coordinate and create alignment in the different buildings, that's their sole task, I think that's really very important and something we can't do without. I think these people will work with building leaders to ensure that they're sensitive to the sites individually and tactically. They will coordinate with the police and other emergency, first responder organizations. More importantly, if we have emergencies after hours, these people are available to help us manage those things from a point of strength that this district doesn't have yet.
So if there should be an emergency and we have to evacuate the kids, and then we have to have a reinstatement program for them to get back to their parents, that person would be there to help us. You might ask, why are we doing this 5 days a week? Because the maximum you're allowed to have with one person is 3 days a week. We would have to have a different person here for other days, but we believe that 3 days a week is the right number for us to be protected far better than we are now. We're always at risk, and the risk, I think, gets more and more as time goes by. But having boots on the ground, we believe that will reduce that risk dramatically.
So this individual, they would still be an employee of Alteris. They would not be on
Yep.
the
This
district
is
healthcare
retired
payroll.
NYPD
Mhm.
that would be trained for this purpose. Actually, they are recruiting people now, anticipating that we are going to approve this.
And then is this a request for proposal that they submitted or have?
This is just the detailed one that I shared with the board
Mhm.
about a month ago, and then again, last week in the Friday notes, that
Mhm.
short vignette that I
Yeah.
wrote, just right before the new year. So that lists all the services that this person would provide, all the things that they would be responsible for, and really having a coordinator. That's what it is. And I want to be very honest, while I appreciate Alteris' services that they provide, it's not enough. There are things that we need to do better on, and this person would help us do that, excuse me. My past district worked with that. We had a coordinator, Arlington, every neighboring district has this. think this is so important, I can't stress it enough.
So a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the past, we've used them on a consulting basis.
Yes,
One of the things that I've been concerned about on the board, and I think we've raised this a number of times, is we haven't always taken advantage of the full range of services they offer already. So for example, we've had a number of proposals brought to us when they were looking at, for example, license plate readers, or when they were looking at things, and we asked, so what does Alteris's take on that? And they hadn't been part of the process. Does this ease the process of having them involved? And how do we make sure that since we'll be paying substantially more for their services, that we're using everything that they offer
well, we
in
would
this
be,
setup?
we or I would be meeting with that person every week, and we would always have an agenda of what we're doing for that week. And so in the past, yes, it's only been consulting, and perhaps, I don't know that we have or haven't used their services fully. But I know that they're available all the time. Whenever I have a question, they always are there to answer the question. They're always there to do our training now as well. But today, I wish you guys had been there. Today was a great example of what we don't know and don't know how to do. And that boots on the ground from them, with somebody with law enforcement background will be able to make all the difference for us.
Yeah, I do see the value of that. I do want to emphasize that. I just want to make sure that we're going to use this service in a way that will actually improve safety in the
We sure are,
district.
because it'll make a big difference for us.
And not only that, the consultant now doesn't know the buildings well enough.
And that's
right?
been my concern,
And
yeah.
the people and so forth and so on. And I think when we get them into these locations and they're part of the drilling and they're part of the building level emergency meetings, threat assessment meetings, I think that's where we're gonna get the money. And as, I don't know if Ken said this, but there's a portion of this that's also state aidable. So it's actually cheaper than, the bottom line price over time. I also think it protects us in a lot of different ways, including through liability piece.
Yeah. No, I think this is very valuable. I want to make sure that Alteris is the right fit for this, and this is the right approach.
And the other thing, Jim, I just want to, obviously, this is not something that we're asking for, that we get it and we forget about it. We're more than willing to give you updated reports.
And right,
and
and that's
check-ins.
what I'm looking to see.
Yeah, no, and I would expect, and I think I read you well.
Yeah.
So maybe well, to piggyback off that.
So,
I know Alteris has come to the board in the past to present. Could we have them at our committee meeting prior to the board meeting next week?
Sure.
On January 13th? This committee can then make a determination as far as our recommendation to the full board at that meeting. And then if it's
so are you,
positively,
so am I putting this on the agenda, but it could be pulled if we need to? We would like to
I'd
get
like
this-
to see
we would like
before
to get
we
it
vote
done.
before we vote on this. So if we could do it at the next meeting, that would be ideal.
I understand that, but the next meeting is right before the board meeting. Can I put this on the agenda, and then if you need
yeah,
to, we
if
can
this
pull it?
committee
Yeah.
favorably recommends it, it would move forward to the full board. If for whatever reason there were reservations or wasn't a favorable
That's fine.
recommendation,
Then we would
We pull it.
look for more
I just want
discussion.
to point out one other thing, that is that this would provide a consistency among all 5 buildings, rather than the buildings doing things differently. So we believe that that's very important as well.
And just crossing Ts and dotting Is, because I know we've had some questions about the different policies that have to do with procurement, with contracts and everything else. Given that this is moving from being below 20,000, which is one of our cutoffs, to about 80,000, does this have to go out for an RFP? What is the process of comparing
This
Alteris to
company
other
is already
vendors?
vetted through BOCES.
I understand that, but
This
are
is
there
not-
other companies that it is also possible to work with? I just understand that, we've had questions come to the board where things in principle should have come to the board for approval or should have gone through an RFP process and didn't, and I just want to make sure we're following our own policies.
So we're
on this.
following BOCES policy. This is a company that's already RFP'd through BOCES, and we're permitted to do it that way.
I understand, and we're permitted to go through BOCES, I understand that, but do we need to compare BOCES to other vendors, given the amount of the contract?
That would be up to you. That's not our recommendation.
Well, I mean,
Our recommendation is to proceed with.
I'm not-
Alteris.
My question isn't about recommendation, my question is about the policy, what's required. And we should verify that.
yeah, we can verify that and look that up prior to our next committee meeting.
Perfect, thank
The
you.
other thing, Jim, is I could tell you that I don't know of any other company.
Oh,
in this
I've
area
been
that's
very happy with
comprehensive.
Alteris,
Yeah.
and I do think this is the direction we want to go in, but in terms of transparency
Sure.
and public visibility, I think we have to be very, very careful about following our own policies.
And you said we're the outlier right now in Putnam County?
I believe so. I mean, not only Putnam, I mean, when you look at
Northern
right,
Westchester,
Arlington.
Southern Dutchess.
And look, the schools in Westchester, they have people on site.
Mhm.
All right, people who are there working with the SROs, the SPOs, the building level teams. What we have is we have a consultant. We can call
Yep.
them, they could do a few trainings. So I think this is a situation with a district like ours also that's spread far and wide, that this would be very helpful. And I'm more than happy to explore the policy piece and make sure we're not doing anything.
Excellent.
Sounds
So
good.
prior to next Tuesday, we'll verify the policy and we'll also have them here to present to this committee.
Yeah, and with that, I'm very comfortable having this,
Thank
just
you.
thinking to myself, having this on the agenda.
Thank you for bringing it to us.
No,
Yes.
we really appreciate your time.
No, I think this is a big step forward, because I know on the consulting basis, again and again, we've had this question come up. Well, here's a proposal that's security related, where Alteris involved, well, it's a consultant, we call them, sometimes, it takes time.
The other great thing about this relationship would be that they would be flexible with us also.
Yeah.
So they would be present when we needed them to be present. They would be able to come to board meetings to answer questions. They would be a face of Carmel Central School District security and safety and support. And I think there's a lot of work to do in this area. I think it's really perilous for any school to believe that there's not.
No, I strongly agree with that.
I know you, thank you.
Any questions from the public on this?
No, I agree with the superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. LeBeau.
You're welcome.
Okay, third item of business, grant writing service, RJM.
So we interviewed BOCES grant writing people, Mr. Plotkin, Dr. Gorman, and I. And we also met with this RJM, Robert J. Miller company. Robert J. Miller represents a number of school districts. I have personal knowledge of them from Poughkeepsie, where they were the grant writing company for Poughkeepsie. The difference between what BOCES grant writing service does and R.J. Miller does is that R.J. Miller goes out to grants other than educational grants. They will go out and seek grants in all different areas, where BOCES focuses on educational related grants, whereas there is lots of money out there to be had in other areas, and they have sought this out. So they get $9,600 a quarter. They're not a part of the grant. They don't get any percentage of it, as we have seen in other places. And they provide a weekly report of their activities. So the superintendent, Dr. Gorman, and I are recommending that we go with RJM. We did interview them at length. And there are other people that do grants, but we compared this company, which I knew, and BOCES Services, and we feel that this is a better fit. Dr. Gorman or Ms. Plotkin?
I was pleased with that they would help manage the title grants when those are ever ending. There's requirements to them on accountability, spending, meetings with parents and community, projecting the next year. So that's a big plus for our office instructional. And I thought it was pretty well priced.
The other thing is that other school districts have grant writers in-house, sometimes one, sometimes two. There's a lot of money out there to be pulled in terms of grants. So this is a very exciting thing if we could get certain grants that would help us expand and sustain certain programs, whether it be things like more community-based services like before care, aftercare. So that's what hearing from parents that they would love to extend that opportunity, also have that based within our schools, so forth and so on. Obviously, I'd like to see some more information about what grants are currently out there. We saw a whole bunch, and they were grants that you would never imagine. Grants from Walmart, grants from McDonald's, grants from all these places that usually educators are not tapping into.
So it presents opportunities like sporting improvements to athletic facilities. It could be weight room things. It could be health-related things like exercise programs where there's money to establish things. So my point was it goes way beyond what we would normally see in the educational environment where, say it again, where BOCES would focus only on the education-related grants. So this would focus on anything that's out there. We have seen the result of some of this, some of their reports, and it's just 4 or 5 pages, line by line, of different grants that are available. And they give us a weekly report of where each one stands and whatever it's been applied for, what the status of it is, and what we expect to have happen.
And then once we showed interest, they would go and pursue that for us, right, Ken?
Yes, so they would present these opportunities. We would say what we were interested in, because there may be things we have no interest in, and then they would pursue each one that we expressed interest in.
So what we would be proposing is obviously, like anything, one of the good things when you buy something, you buy it. But this would be, I think what we would be open to is seeing how this goes for a year
That's right.
and then come back and revisit it. We don't want to, acquire something that does us no good, but I think this will do us a lot of good. Nick, your thoughts?
Yes, I love the idea, and we've been talking about a grant writer for years.
Yes, we have.
What I would like to ask, with all due respect, because there are multiple people, and this has come up before, is there a way we can see, because it's been presented where there are grant writers that write tons of grants, but very few that are actually successful. And is there a way to see what they've done, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's this report you're talking
I
about.
can provide you with that report, which is a multiple-page report, which details exactly what's going on.
Thank you.
So what they did was to give us a report that was a weekly report from one school district, and you just see the myriad of opportunities that are there. We can provide that tomorrow
So-
for you.
So Ken, would this be something that we want to put on the 27th audit committee? We have another audit committee on the 27th?
We have an audit committee
Next week.
next week and then
13th.
the 27th. Why
Right.
don't we put it on for next week
Okay.
for the audit committee?
Trying to give you time.
And then we'll put it on for the 27th for a decision.
Sure,
Or
that works.
discussion.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Silver, is there, so I'm looking at the payment clause. If there's a successful grant, is there an additional,
No,
no additional
No.
payment?
$9,600 a quarter flat, no matter what they get.
so we pay about 40,000. How does this compare to what we're paying BOCES? How does this compare to the cost?
We don't
Obviously
have this-
higher up.
We don't have the
full-time
service
grant
through BOCES now.
I understand, but we had budgeted for it in the past.
Right, the BOCES is about the same, a little bit more, but there's BOCES aid.
Yep.
So we're not getting that, but you're opening opportunities that do not exist.
So our hope
through
is that it
BOCES.
pays for itself with the
Oh, yeah.
grants it brings in above BOCES. Now, how does that compare to a full-time grant writer in terms of expected return?
Full-time grant
and user
writer.
price?
You're going to be paying, I have experience with this. It's somewhere in the vicinity of $150,000, including benefits, to hire somebody who would be able to do that.
And they usually take a percentage.
And we expect that there wouldn't be a much higher return from a full-time grant writer.
Well, full-time grant writer, you'd have to be getting somebody from somewhere who knows how to do this. You're not learning how to do grants, that there's a long lead time to be able to do this. Whereas a company that's established and just does this with a multitude of
Presumably we'll be
employees.
looking to hire someone with
Well,
experience.
they're hitting the
from another
ground running and being able to look for opportunities right away instead of training somebody or spending a lot of money, and what if it doesn't work out? Now you have that person.
No disagreement,
employed.
but if we did hire someone, we would have them full-time on our grants. Whereas obviously for 38,000 a year, this person is servicing other districts as well.
You're correct.
But it's a whole team of people.
Yep.
At the company. That's the other thing, is I think that my feeling is that this company can get more done than a single person. And I think that's why we want to try it, so we can come back and say for sure that that is the case.
Yeah, and that sounds, I trust your judgment on that. That sounds great. 2 more questions and then I'll shut up, I promise. To Assistant Superintendent Gorman's point, this would also help us with grant administration, so the year-over-year task of
Yes.
once a grant is received.
Yes, they
making sure
take
we're-
over some of the responsibilities of reporting and preparing for the next year as well. I have experience with percentage grant writing, which can be a nightmare because the people write the grants with themselves in the grant.
Yeah, that's really big,
And I have experience with a full-time grant writer who was experienced but was limited in that they didn't understand or were not able to access the scope of what's out there. There are corporate grants that we don't even know about, but there's a lot of money out there to be had.
Yeah, this sounds great, and just, but, last piece of this, just, and at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm hearing that you're familiar with this company, you trust them, that you trust this company in particular. Are there other companies out there offering this service? And if so, do we need to do an RFP? Given the amount of the contract?
We'll look into that.
Yeah, let's have that, let's cover that. Can we make this a general topic for the next audit committee meeting?
Sure.
Sort of what the reviewing, because I know there are two members of the board who are still with us, myself and President Orser, who were on the policy committee when we revised those policies 2 years ago. And I think it would be worth going over those and just making sure we understand where the cutoff is,
Sure.
so that we don't have to keep repeating the question.
Sure. So we can put that on for our agenda next week.
Perfect.
With this item, so we'll have that status report emailed to the committee within the next day or so. This will be back on our committee agenda next week for discussion, and then if it is favorably recommended out of this committee, it'll move to the full board at the following board meeting, the one after January. Yes. Mhm.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
And, to Trustee Magliano's point, this has been talked about for a long time, so
Yes,
thank
it
you. This team actually gets stuff done.
Yeah, I
So,
appreciate this.
Thank you to our,
Having budgeted it twice, to see it actually come through is really welcome, and I appreciate everyone here. I think this is a very positive direction.
thank you to our administration team for bringing this to us and doing the hard work and conducting the interviews and finding a company that meets our needs. So thank you.
Yeah.
School boundary discussion.
So you have in front of you the latest version of the school boundary discussion having to do with the Toll Brothers development. The assessor has met with the Brewster schools and has met with us at our last meeting or the meeting before that. And everybody has agreed, but we need to see a formal resolution, which is our attorney is the same as Brewster's attorney. And the attorney is preparing a resolution for both boards to agree to, which will determine the property line. We've agreed that all the children should be in one school district and not a few in our school district and most of them in Brewster schools. We've agreed that we will get the entirety of the senior citizen property and that a future development that is already in process would all be ours, children as well as adults in that. So this presents an opportunity to bring in additional revenue, but our tax levy is our tax levy. So it's not like we are getting more money than we originally had, but what the effect is to reduce the cost to every taxpayer by a large development coming in.
We're expanding the tax base.
We're expanding the tax base, so that reduces however much every taxpayer's burden of paying taxes by having another large taxpayer come online. Be no different than if a major box store came in or something like that, which would provide additional revenue, but our revenue is a fixed number each year when we do our tax levy. So we're not talking about more money coming to the school district, the number goes back to the taxpayers. So we're waiting for this resolution from the attorneys now. And we might be able to get it on the next agenda. We'll see where that is. I know we all agree on this, that it's time to move forward and the timeline is such that this construction is about to start. It needs to get done.
And there was also a small change with the golf course, I think on John Simpson Road, the property line there.
Yeah, he tried to explain it to us, but it'll be more clear with the resolution because it'll give the boundaries in a better way.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your work on this as well.
Yeah, this has obviously been a long haul, and I appreciate all of the work that's gone into this from both districts. Obviously, especially from ours, making sure that our interests are safeguarded. Given the amount of time, of your time and your time and our legal time, and the same on the Brewster side, are there any other issues sort of in the foreseeable future that we expect to have to renegotiate this?
We know
Or do we
no
expect
issues.
this? That's great. So we expect this, there's no other development that in a year we'll be having the same discussion. We think we're good for,
The next development here
is already
will
charted
not be a
out.
subject for a discussion because it'll just be all in our school district.
Done.
Beautiful.
We can't say off this site
Yeah.
who's gonna develop what, but yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But
I mean,
this will help all the businesses in the community.
Yeah.
There'll be more people coming in, more money coming in, so it's a good thing.
And everything in here, nothing has changed since we met with the assessor and all that. All he went his detailed explanation, this is all good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything from the community on this or the grant writer?
I just had a question about the boundaries with Brewster. I thought when we heard the assessor speak at that audit and finance, that when we went to the board meeting that night, we talked about the students coming to Carmel. I thought that's what I heard, and I went back and re-listened to it. But what's going to happen is the students are gonna go to Brewster, correct? And Carmel is gonna get the tax relief with the development of the senior citizens, correct? I just wanna make sure that I understand
Yes, but there's
that.
another piece, the undeveloped piece
So
of
I know it's
land.
coming down the
Right.
road, right? The next set of
Correct.
projects, that will bring students into
Correct.
Carmel Central, so we have
You
time
got that
to
right.
plan for that, okay. And as far as the grant writer, proposal, I heard Dr. Borman say that they would also manage the title grants. I was just wondering about that. How much time is then committed to that as opposed to searching for new grants? Because the title grants are a given, right? We get those regardless. I guess that was my question, is when we look at that in bringing that in, because I know it's been talked about for a long time, and I know it's some area that we've been lacking in. I would just look at the best possible use of that type of service.
Yeah,
As
well,
opposed to managing grants.
I agree with
Yeah.
you, Ms. Ferranda. I think getting guidance and consultation about the grants that we already write is great, because that'll make it more expedient. But I really want these people to be like a pack of beagles out in the woods
Yeah.
looking for new grants and chasing them down, really. I mean, we have areas and things that we could do here that would be really beneficial to the community. And again, along the lines of not just athletics, but, parents have said to me, it would be helpful to my life if I had a little longer aftercare. If I could drop the kids off 10 minutes earlier at school, those types of things that I hear, because, we have a considerable amount of parents who travel far to go to work.
In the past, when I've worked with the grant company on title grants, they've sort of set the parameters and then worked in consultations with business offices. So told them that, set them up, so they weren't actively managing and doing everything in the grants. But they were just making sure that the parameters were set up,
I just wanted to
that the monies were
understand.
allocated for Title I, Title II, what the leftover was, and just things that needed to be done.
Thank
And that worked pretty well.
Thank you. The St. James
This is,
Catholic School lunch program.
so this is just for your information. At an earlier budget advisory meeting on a Saturday a long time ago, one parent asked us about, we were talking about food for the kids. And this person's kid goes to St. James for the UPK program. And so Superintendent and I started looking into this, come to find out that at our 8 locations, only St. James is eligible to be a food service location, because all of the others are daycare or county-owned and are not eligible through the state to be a part of the school lunch breakfast program. So we decided to pursue that. We've come to find out that Brewster and Carmel have almost all of the 130 kids that are in St. James. We have 30 pre-K kids. So the pre-K kids come in the morning, the Brewster kids come in and they get their breakfast and they go to class. Our kids come in and they get nothing and they go to class. Lunchtime comes, Brewster delivers food to their kids at St. James. Our kids have to buy lunch every day. So we are providing nothing. So then, as a result of my asking the state about this, come to find out that it's not legit for Brewster to provide for only their own kids and not all the kids. And so Brewster has said they're going to drop out and no longer provide food service for any kids. So we went over there, we took a look with an architect and other people to take a look at what this program would look like if we were to run it. We would be able to get a reimbursement of about $7 a day. We would provide food for all 130 kids. And the kitchen is somewhat problematical, but they have agreed to provide whatever equipment is missing. We have a vendor who will provide a milk refrigerator, which they don't have. They have freezer space. We would begin small and then get bigger. It will not break even. I can't see how we could, but in the first year, I would recommend that we had a modified program. Breakfast is easy. It's kind of a grab and go. They put big dishes of fruit and cereal or whatever they're doing. Kids take it, but the Brewster kids would now get it as well as our kids. And there are kids there from K through 8, I think. And so there's another 60 kids or 50-something kids that are ours that are not pre-K. They're not getting anything either. Only the Brewster kids come in, get food. So we want to do this, but there's going to be a cost. And we don't know what the cost will be. But our food service program does very well. And it seems to me that if we have 90 children that belong to us that are in that school, and we can provide for them, that we should provide for them. And so that's where we are. We're not asking for your permission for anything. We're just informing you that we are looking into this and trying to work with the state. I have an appointment tomorrow morning with somebody at the state education department to do a budget. We've already done some preliminary paperwork with them. We would become a food service site. You can't have 2 school districts at the same site. That's why Brewster has to drop out. And Brewster said they can't provide for everybody. The high school being so nearby makes it pretty easy for us to provide provisions on a regular basis if we need to. They have some storage capability. And we're just telling you about this today. We're going to come back to you next week with more information and perhaps an ask. But we know it will cost something, and I should have a better number next week after I meet with the state tomorrow to do a budget with them as to what this would look like. The state is very eager to do this, and they are also looking to see if there are ways to help us beyond what there is. We've looked in with the state at all the title programs, but money is not available through a title grant if the service is not on site, on our site. If we had the UPK program here, we would have additional monies available, but not there, even though it's in our community. But it's always bothered me that kids from another school district on our territory are getting fed and our kids are not getting fed. That's the basis of what we're trying to do. So more to come next week. Just wanted to tell you about this today.
Couple of questions. I think obviously this makes a lot of sense. Just so I understand the numbers involved, you said there are 130 kids at St. James, of whom 90 are Carmel UPK.
Close. Those numbers are close.
Mhm.
There's 30 UPKs.
Oh,
And then there's about another 50 or 55 kids that are our kids that are K through 8,
okay. And historically, no one's provided lunch for those kids either.
not for our kids.
Understood. Now, outside of the 30 UPK kids at St. James, how many UPK kids are there elsewhere in the district?
None in the district.
I mean,
They're
in
all
Carmel
housed district
UPK
at
and
seven
other
other,
sites.
seven other locations is about another 130 kids.
Okay,
They get,
and we have no way to provide,
No,
no
we
state
do
aid to
not,
provide.
some, that's correct, but some of those sites do provide food on a regular basis. All of the sites provide food where it's needed. So if there's a family that can't afford it, they are required to provide food, and they do.
Yeah.
That's really the same for St. James. If there's somebody that can't buy the food, they will provide.
And I obviously, I think I share your discouragement at seeing a situation where kids go to get lunch and are told, no, that lunch is for the other kids. That's awful, obviously.
Yes.
Especially thinking of UPK students,
Yeah,
for
they come in,
3-year-olds,
there's a bucket of
4-year-olds.
food, and they have to pass by and don't get breakfast.
Yeah, that's obviously a situation we have to remedy. I'm just thinking of the larger down the road, the other 130 students who, hey, you go to UPK at this site, you get breakfast. If you go to that site, you might not.
That's true.
That's
And
what- that's
that
something else
is
we-
beyond our control in a way.
That's right.
And look, I think also that as we go down the line and we think of what happens at each of our elementary schools, we can think about where there's room and if there's room to have UPK sites in those
That's
areas and make a concerted effort to be discerning about where we want to continue the program off-site and where we don't.
Strongly agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And whether ultimately we would like to pull back some of it and have it here,
Agreed.
if we have the space, that would be a real plus.
Strongly.
Questions
Okay.
from the community? Okay, we'll look forward to an updated presentation next week on this.
Yes.
At least you don't ask for lunch.
There's some stuff skipped here. The last item is something we wanted to tell you about.
Okay.
Transportation radios. So we have talked about upgrading in this meeting and public meeting. We've talked about upgrading the radios for facilities department and the high school, the middle school, and the repeaters and the poor service that there is. So this proposal is for radios for transportation. Right now, I've described this to you, I'll describe it again. Right now, if a dispatcher is on the phone with one of our 108 buses, nobody else can talk to any of those buses at the time that one person is on. That person has to get off the radio. Of course, all of these people have cell phones, but they're not permitted to use the cell phones when they're driving the buses. And this proposal for $214,000 would upgrade all of the radios on all of the buses and allow better communication, more communication. We also have a problem when the bus is not nearby, the radios don't work at all. And so we can have buses that seem to have disappeared in the mist, but they're really only 15, 20, 30 miles away. This will take care of that. We will be able to reach all of our vehicles all the time.
That's 214,000 over 3 years, or this is
This is the
payment terms,
Let- let-
3-year?
Let me speak to the money.
Sure.
When we talked about the radios for facilities, we talked about a pot of money that we had discovered of some $688,000 that had been in money put into it year by year when the general fund budget designated a certain number of dollars to be for a particular project and capital projects in a given year. There's a thing in the state where if you spend $100,000 on a project, you get all of the state aid back the next year instead of getting it over 15 years for a renovation or 20 years for a construction. This gets you all the money back the next year. Those $100,000 or $200,000 budget, line item budgets were never used. I've shown this committee that report that shows that $688,000. That's where the money came from for these radios. That's where the money comes from for this radio. These are monies that must be used for this type of equipment and cannot be used for, it can be used for any capital project, but it can be used for this. So there's no effect on the taxpayer, not coming out of the budget. It's money that we discovered that was unused over the years and had just accumulated, plus interest, and was just never used. And so we found a good purpose for this. And that's, we're wanted to tell you about this, and we would like to put this on next week's agenda so we can get these radios to get transportation better going. We know we have accidents frequently, and communication with them is absolutely critical, as critical as with the schools.
When
So-
would the outfitting, the anticipation of the outfitting of this be? Would it be this
How
school
long-
year, or would it be
Yes,
going
it'd be
into
this
the new
school
school year? This school year?
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, I think there's a very good, you make a very good case for this purchase. I'm less swayed by well, we have this money and we have to spend it, because there are obviously
I didn't
many
say we had to spend it.
I understand,
said
but
we
it's-
have this money.
it's money for capital projects. There are many capital projects on the horizon that could go to. Obviously, this has a lot of benefit, and we've seen some of the discussions about how communications are handled after an accident or other issue with the buses, that this would make it a lot easier for us. The one obvious question I have, and again, as we address this in policy, I can stop sounding like a broken record. This is a $200,000 outlay. What was the RFP process for this like?
This company is already a part of our regular vending force that was a part of an RFP at some time in the past 5 years.
I understand, but this is a new project of $200,000, so isn't it RFP
But
eligible?
it's also the company, it's also the company that has provided us the radios and the service for many years.
And I think they're on a state contract.
So, yeah, let's verify that, because
So this is a
Yeah,
state-approved vendor and does not require anything further if it's a state.
I understand that we can, my larger question here is always making sure that we do have this transparency around the process, because obviously it's, we go from whatever we've spent with them in the past to a new 200,000, to next year it might be a larger project, and it might be a project very worth doing. At some point, you have to look and say, look, who are the vendors who provide this service? Is this still the right deal for money?
Of course.
Thank you.
How does this affect our monthly payments as they are now? Because I see this isn't just a one-time fee, as opposed to what they are now to what they're gonna be with this additional channel.
Right, so this is just an upgrade to the system. So there is a monthly cost to this, yes. Why don't I get you more detail on this at the same time as I answer Trustee Wise's question about the vetting of this, or that part of it. I'll have that for you for next week's
Thank you.
agenda as well.
Let's, just so we're not overloading ourselves for next week, you want to put this on the following week's agenda, because this
Oh,
is.
sure, this is fine, yes, this
Yeah,
isn't so
this-
time sensitive.
Yeah, this,
can wait for 2 weeks.
okay, this isn't nearly as time sensitive, for instance, as the Alteris or,
No
okay.
problem.
So we'll space ourselves out and give us some breathing room. We'll verify your concern, to be on top of that. And we'll bring this back in 2 weeks, give us some time to think about it. We'll have a follow-up discussion in 2 weeks.
Just so you know, it is in here, it's $1,600 more a month.
Okay,
For
so that's
this
the
new
difference.
service.
Separate from the 200,000.
That's in there, it's not very legible, but it's there.
4,300.
Yeah, I was trying to do that.
That was the part I could see what it's gonna be, I couldn't see what it was, that's what I was curious, thank you.
Okay.
All right, any comments from the community? Okay. Mr. Silver, do we want to touch on the ones that were crossed out at all? No?
We're gonna wait till our Transportation Advisory Committee meets on that.
Is there any business that members of the committee would like to bring up at this point?
I would like to, I don't know if you're gonna be able to answer this now and because of time, but maybe for next time. In the November appropriation status report, there's some large increases, and the board, along with members of the community, just wanted to know how and why, what brought us to these things. And without having to go through a line by line, even maybe if you can explain some of the larger ones or just what brought you to this, and even if not now, if you can have something for next time.
Well, I don't have anything in front of me for that, so we do that next week.
Appreciate
of
it,
course.
thank you. Or
I'll have the December report as well by that time.
well, we'll have questions. No, just kidding. Yeah.
That's fine.
So we'll bring that at, you want that at next week's meeting?
Sure, that's fine.
This isn't, it shouldn't be a lengthy conversation. I would just like to say, just for explanation, because you are the finance expert, I would like to explain, I would like to understand certain things myself, and I'm sure other board members and community
Yes,
would appreciate the same
I want you to be
explanation.
the expert too, so yes, we'll do that next week. That's fine.
Thank you.
Well, those appropriation reports are like pleasure reading.
Yeah.
You do it in your free
Gotta
time,
get a
right?
life.
I'd like us to be the experts in these, but I'd also like to make sure we are presenting information as transparently as we can. So the larger community who are gonna ask to vote in favor of the budget that comes out of this have the information they need to move forward with that.
Absolutely.
That's where this all goes back, with respect to the people that are actually footing the bill to keep us up and running.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Any other items the committee wants to bring up? Any items out there floating? No? Okay.
The one thing that I would ask, I don't think it's a short enough subject to cover tonight.
Mhm.
We discussed at the general meeting, 2 meetings ago, getting a sort of timeline, and it dovetails into the policy discussion we're having here around the phone pouches, and the larger question of how we have purchases that at the time of purchase are well over the approval rating, what we're going through without coming before the board for approval.
I think the
So,
policy committee
I think,
tomorrow is going to be.
I think we need
looking
to
at that.
revisit the policy tomorrow,
Mhm.
but I'd also like to understand how we sort of, what the checks and balances are on that going forward from an audit perspective.
Sure.
So if we can do that next week's audit meeting, I think that would be ideal.
Okay.
But it is, and to what Trustee Cosio said, it is actually on policy's agenda for tomorrow.
Yep.
To discuss, to make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen.
Yeah,
going
and that's
forward.
very important. I'm really glad you brought that forward.
Thank you.
I do think there are two parts of this. There's what is our policy with regard to this, but we had a policy at the time this purchase was made. So there's also the question of how we make sure things don't slip through the cracks. I'm sure it was not intentional, but the fact remains that.
But the thing is I think one of the key factors is how we execute and exercise that policy.
Yep.
What you're seeing here is we're trying to bring to you all of the things that are of financial concern to this committee before it even goes to a board. This way, this
Absolutely.
question is part of a vetting process. So I hope in using these types of forums that we have greater transparency, greater discussion, better discussions, and more
Exactly.
disclosure,
Mhm.
right? I understand that I inherited this pouch thing. It's like,
Yeah,
I mean, all of a
and
sudden a kangaroo showed up
absolutely
in my
before your
front
time.
yard. All right, but
Too
the
many
bottom
pouches.
line is looking at that policy and saying, maybe saying, what are some of the regulations we can attach to that policy? In
Yep.
terms of this, and using committees like this is really important.
Strongly agree.
All right.
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
No,
bringing this.
listen, I don't wanna ever relive this ouch thing, James.
Here, here.
Well, the bottom line was, it was circumnavigated around the board,
Yeah.
whether how it was done.
That's
And-
right.
And that's why, in all transparency, and for the people and this and that, you weren't here, a lot of us had no knowledge of when it happened. But this is what we are working on to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Right, and
That's
the other
right.
thing is we can't allow panic around the state mandate to drive fiscal practices in the Carmel Central School District. I
Yeah.
understand that people were panicked by a cell phone ban mandate. That's why it happened. There was no dishonesty around it. It was it was a good motivation behind it. But again, I think slowing things down at times like that are very important, and it's part of a democratic process, right?
Strongly.
People criticize democracy and say it's not expedient. I think it's expedient enough to ensure that people are heard and that the right thing is done in the end.
And I
Here, here.
agree, and like I said, this has been coming up and coming up, that's why I would like to just confront this issue, where we can put it to bed and everybody's on the same page and we don't have to do this again.
And I
Yep.
think that is part of the reason this committee, last time we met, maybe 2 times ago, that we recommended that the policy committee revisit
Yep.
that policy, tighten it up. What can we do in a positive way to address this? Because like you mentioned, the board was not supportive of that. This committee wasn't supportive of it. So how do we move forward? How do we address it, fix it so that doesn't happen again?
Here, here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We very much appreciate your time. Please take back to your departments how much we appreciate all the work they do. And we will see everyone next week on Tuesday, January 13th at Carmel High School in the library room.
Yeah.
At 5:30 PM.
Sounds
Thank you.
Thank you all.